Let me do another video real quick, and today we're going to be talking about dealing with the tower rush and how to stay calm during tower rush, and yeah, just all kinds of different things you can do, and then I'll show you what I chose to do as well. Um, so I don't know if this is something that a lot of you are still struggling with, but I don't think there's been a very recent, like a recent video on how to deal with tower rush, so I'm just going to go through kind of like um, my perspective on it. And yeah, what you can do is I'll try and tell you what you can do is a couple different civs. In this game, I was French, so I am a civilization that needs the gold, and we will often get tower rushed by the Mongols. If you are playing English or Rus, you do not need to stress about tower rush very much. I have been tower rushed as a Rus player, but most Mongol players do not choose to tower rush against Rus. Um, it's just not the strongest of plays because Rus doesn't need gold um, in the Dark Age, and also Rus can throw down a Kremlin and protect certain areas, and they can even get that up sometimes, um, like like let's say that I'm playing Rus and he tower rushes here, um, and he gets the tower up. Like I can still put a Kremlin down, like slightly outside the range, and it will be firing on the tower. I can spawn free units that don't really matter to try and burn the tower. And ultimately, Rus doesn't need a lot of gold, so I'll be able to burn down the tower before it really becomes an issue. Um, but honestly, Tower Rush is not as strong as it used to be. Like, Mongol players used to be able to just commit to a Tower Rush and just kind of end the game from there. So, I'm going to pause right here. You see this eagle scouting that the Khan threw out? I actually was able to notice that on my own screen. I could see the eagle flying above my gold. So that told me right away, okay, he's definitely going for Tower Rush. There's no other reason he would come up here and put the eagle on my gold, right? So at this point, I decide to just look for sheep, because I know a Tower Rush is coming. I don't need to go scout out the Uvu to confirm the Tower Rush is coming, because I can safely assume. If you notice that the Khan has run near your base early in the game, like in the first minute and a half, you can pretty much assume that he's scouting for where to tower rush. So yeah, English and Rus don't really need to worry about tower rush. Other civs can respond to it in different ways. Malians can make spears in Dark Age, as well as Ottomans can make spears in Dark Age. French, you don't really want to be doing that, so, or, HRE, you don't necessarily want to be doing that, but you can do it as HRE as well. So, I'll show you the approach that I took this game, which is to ignore the tower rush, and I'll show you how that works. So, yeah, at this point, I know the tower rush is coming, and I know my plan is to ignore it. So, I'm going to gather as much gold as I can before the tower goes up, right? And we'll talk about what to do with that gold in a second. But yeah, one reason Mongol players will tower rush French is just to stop those first knights from coming out, right? And he does manage to do that. So. Actually make some... I'm actually interested to see in a second. I'm pretty sure I made a very big mistake. Alright, so the first thing I notice when the villager shows up to build the tower, my scouts here, is that the villager's alone. So I immediately pull 3 villagers and attack it, and try to just get rid of this villager right away. And then I see the spears showing up, and I pull back with the bills. And I almost lose the scout here. It is extremely close. I should have pulled him back way earlier, but he survives. So why did I do that? I just saw an opportunity and I took it. So now the spearmen are here. And I'm not going to be able to engage into these 2 spearmen with my villagers, so it's time to pull off the gold. I only got 126. It is what it is. Now at this point, you can delete the mining camp. Now this is where I think I made a big mistake. I'm pretty sure I deleted a villager here, and so we get to see together if I did make that mistake or not. Because I'm pretty sure look where my villagers are standing, and I tried to delete the mining camp. I should have been moving the villagers first before I worried about the mining camp. I think I deleted a villager here. Let's see. There's 3 villagers here. Okay, those 3 are leaving. I think I delete one. I'm not sure. Oh, there it was. I deleted this one. So I had this villager selected and I deleted it. So that was a gigantic mistake. I deleted a whole villager. Um, but we recovered. We recovered. So I think I managed to get the mining camp deleted though. So the reason you delete the mining camp is because, if you don't know, Mongols get a bounty for burning buildings. And if he attacks this building once before I delete it, he'll get his bounty, because that's the way that the game engine works, and it makes sense. But I don't think he attacked the mining camp, so I was able to get rid of it, and he doesn't get his bounty. So yeah, if he had even just shot the mining camp once with his con earlier, um, then unless I repaired it to full before I delete it, then yeah, he would get the bounty. So at this point, I decided to just go look for more sheep. And like I said, we're ignoring this tower rush. We're going to let this tower go up. We're not going to stress about it. So we're going to need access to gold. What are we going to do about that? Well, my game plan as French is generally to go for 2 town centers, and I decide that that's exactly what I'm going to do. But first we have to stop the tower rush from continuing. So we're going to let this tower go up, but we're going to put villagers on wood right away and get an archery range so that we can stop further towers from going up. Because this tower is annoying, but imagine if he towered the stone as well, or the wood line, then I would really be screwed. But the thing is, that's not really super possible if I get out archers. So my scout's going across the map for several reasons. I'm looking for more sheep. Also, I need to see if there's a silver tree in his base, and if there's any exposed resources in his base for when I counterattack. Now, the first thing I make out of my school of cavalry immediately here is a scout. Why is that? It's because I only have 1 scout. It's on the other side of the map, trying to find a place to attack, trying to see what landmark he's making. So I make a scout here. That way I can keep track of the villager. And he actually, this is surprising. I don't know if this is 5 head or what. He actually just pulls the villager back home and decides not to make a second tower. He wasn't likely to get a second tower up because I already have an archery range coming. So, yeah, I don't know if that was a 5 head decision by him to keep the villager alive or not, to be honest. Like, it could have been worth it for him to try to sneak a tower somewhere else, such as this gold mine would have been huge, or on my stone, right? But instead he pulls the villager back. So the first thing I make is a scout here because I want to find out where the next tower is going and what's happening around my base, while still continuing to be able to scout on the other side of the map. So I make a scout, and I immediately will go out and look around everywhere around my base, look for another tower going down. And yeah, the archery range is going down as well. So my scout is just making sure he's not towering the wood line first, because that was my biggest concern, is that the villager would wrap around and maybe throw a tower down over here, but he did not. So next I'm going to check the stone, because I want to get a town center. Meanwhile, my scout is already seeing the stable and the deer stones, so I know he's not trading. This is super important, because if he is trading, you're going to need to stop that, obviously, right? So, at this point, I realize he doesn't have a tower on my stone. He didn't tower my wood line. I don't know where his villager is, but my stone is safe. And I made a horseman. And this horseman is going to go straight towards his gold mine to harass. I can't stress this enough, just putting even just 1 unit on your opponent's side to kind of distract them and harass will make a big difference in how the game progresses from here. Also, I forgot to tell you guys what I did with my gold. So I had 129 gold when I pulled off. I could have made one knight. Instead, I chose to go for textiles, which is 100 gold. And that's because if you decide to get rid of the tower with villagers, you're going to need the extra health, first of all. Second of all, I'm expecting um, possibly another tower to go up somewhere. And I'm also like going to be dropping a town center and moving villagers out on the map. All around, I think textiles is a safe choice here. I had several choices. I could have gone for double broad axe, and I could have gone for a knight. Um, Between all those choices, the knight and textiles make the most sense. But I went for the safe option, textiles. At this point, I was considering burning this with villagers, but ultimately, I decide no. I'm just going to get my second TC, and I'll put my TC on gold. So in order to secure myself gold, I'm going to drop my town center back here. It's not the most ideal spot, but I can place it here and get berries and gold. And yeah, ideally I would have liked to have my town center somewhere like this, or even like here and lure the boar. But this isn't going to go exactly as planned. We're playing against Tower Rush and we need to respond, so it is what it is. Now, I'm about to move out for the stone here any second. And you notice he's still Dark Age, so at this point you don't have to be too stressed, right? Like, you're not taking damage from the tower. He chose not to keep rushing, which is why my archers aren't doing anything, right? That the archers are just sitting here because there was no villager for them to chase off. But even if he had tried to place a tower right here, these archers would have been able to prevent it, right? So, yeah, that's why you get the archers. And you don't need to overproduce on the archers right away until you know what kind of comp he's going for. So I had already scouted the stable from my opponent, so I'm not overproducing the archers just yet because, yeah, I just needed a few to contain the tower rush. And I started floating resources and a lot of food here, and I just killed a bunch of food villagers to get the stone for my TC. Meanwhile, this horseman is going to harass on the gold. And I don't think it gets much value. He's already got spearmen there, but it is what it is. And he's just now hitting his age up, and I'm working on the stone for my town center. So I was pretty confident he was going to go into more aggression here, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I end up sending my scout back across the map to figure that out for sure after bringing some sheep home. And, oh no, yeah, that's a horse. Where's my other scout? Okay. So I still have this scout, and then one scout going back across the map. The horseman is just trying to do some kind of damage. I think I just end up losing it for free, though. But I do notice the archery range is going down here. Which, by the way, this is good for me. Making archers against French is kind of... Against French can be kind of not the best choice, because the knights will deal with that very well. So anyways, I lose this horseman, but now I overmined the stone a tiny bit, but I'm going to make my town center, so I will have safe gold. And this tower, guys, like, I know it's annoying, but it's basically useless. As soon as I get this town center up and I have a safe gold, this tower is not really doing anything too much for him anymore. So he's really just kind of delayed himself in the early game in order to stop me from getting out my first knight. But at the end of the day, it's not really hurting me all that much. So he spent a lot of time and resources, villager walk time, all of that good stuff, building spearmen in the Dark Age, and the value he gets out of it is very minimal. He didn't get the um the bounty for the mining camp. Um, the only reason he got a villager kill is because I accidentally deleted a villager. So he really didn't get a lot of value out of this at all. And now my town center is going up, And all I need to be concerned about is what my opponent is doing, how I'm going to respond. So my scout's wrapping back around to, see, like, hey, is he, he's made all these military buildings. Is he just going to produce from them? Is he just going castle? What's he doing here? So, yeah. From here, the tower rush is just not really an issue anymore, and we've basically dealt with the tower rush by completely ignoring it and just going to another gold. So that's really, that's really it. Now, the other choices would have been to try and burn it with villagers with textiles. But he had 4 spearmen sitting in here, and I knew that. And you'll lose a couple villagers. You can try to micro them back, but unless you're a pro or have practiced that a lot, you're probably not going to get the low health villagers back in time, and you'll probably lose a few villagers. So instead of losing the villagers, like I said, I just moved out for this gold and this town center location. So yeah, from here, it's not really like I'll show you guys the rest of the game real quick, but yeah, that's it. We dealt with the tower rush. That's all there is to it. So at this point, I just have to figure out, what is he doing behind this? And I quickly discover that he's just massing units. And I make even one more scout here. And I don't know, maybe I lost a scout. That's why I made another one. No, I have 3 now. But I just need to be keeping track of this army because um yeah, I just need to see what he's doing with his army and try to get a mass. Because right now he has 10 more units than me, right? I need to catch up. Although I'm ahead in villagers. I need to defend my town center and I need to catch up in military. So my scout does see these units. I don't know if he saw it already or if I see it in a second. But I realize he's massing units to try and push the town center. And I just need to respond to that and I'll win the game. So it's again getting a raid in the back with a few horsemen now, just to distract, right? Because if he's massing units here, he probably isn't protecting in his base, and I was right about that. So I'm able to get a villager kill there. 2 villager kills there. And now I'm ahead of him on worker kills. By the way, his only worker kill was actually me deleting villager. That counts as a worker kill for him. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, I'm just kind of distracting, delaying, so that way I can outmass in my base and be ready to handle this push. And I'm keeping track of this army at all times with my scout. And at this point, I remember, like, I don't know when it happens, but I move my scout out a little bit and I just highlight this. And I saw however many archers and however many spearmen when I highlighted it, and I realized, hey, I almost have similar numbers. I do have similar numbers here. Um, not quite there yet, but you have to realize I'll have defensive advantage as well from the town center firing. So I decided to just keep massing for a second, and I don't see rams, right? If I don't see rams, he can't really do anything yet. So, important to note. And I'm just continuously poking on this gold in the back. I'll attack it again here. And eventually, I decide to move out and attack this as well. Now, at this point, he makes a mistake with his con, and I'm able to snipe it for free. That's really nice. And I'm just continuously scouting this army for when I can take the fight. You don't want to take the fight until you can take it. Like, if I send all these units out here and take the fight right now, what would happen is I'd lose most of these units, he would win the fight decisively, and then the game would be very hard to win from there because he would always have a big military advantage. So, continuing to raid on the gold and force idle time. And just continuing to mass here. Speed it up. And you can see pretty soon here my army will be more than enough to deal with his army. And I do move out here to harass these villagers because I had noticed this earlier with the scout. So we'll be doing that in a second there. And there it is again. My scout just moves over, takes a look. I see the rams coming up. I highlight to see how many units he has, and I'm feeling pretty confident at this point because, as you can see, the military count is evening out, and I have a lot more villagers now because of a 2-town center play and because French produces villagers faster. And I'm able to kill another villager there, which is really nice. Oh, at this point, I was running out of food, and I didn't feel comfortable taking these deer right now. Why is that? Well, this army, right? This army could just turn around and attack here. Also, he's streamlining his new units through this area. So, I decided to move out for the berries over here. Now, obviously, deer is better than berries, but just because of the position we're in, and where his army's standing, and where my deer are, where this deer pack is, where this boar is, I can't get any of the high-value food right now, so I have to work with the lower-value food. It's just how it is. And as I'm moving these villagers out, I notice that there's nobody in this tower anymore, so I just get rid of it. Just get rid of it real quick on the way out there. And now my home gold, the original gold, is safe. The tower rush never really did anything too much, besides delay my first night. And at this point, he's pushing in with his rams, and I realize I can easily win this fight with the archer mass I have. So I take the fight out here. My villagers can handle the rams in the back. And this is really good for me. I shouldn't have lost the knight there. But this is really good for me because his units aren't supporting the rams at all. And they can't afford to support the rams. They have to deal with this archer mass. So at this point, I have more archers by a lot. And he has some spearmen here, but they're not really going to do anything. As you notice, my spearmen are just kind of AFK for a while until I get rid of most of the archers, and then I bring them in to help out once most of the archers are gone. But, yeah, this game is over now. I am now 23 villagers ahead. I'm ahead on military, and I held off the push. This game is over now. He could have forfeit right here, but instead, he doesn't. And I just kill off his military and take a big military lead. And at this point, said, I'm 24 villagers ahead, and I'm ahead of military. He's dropping a second town center, but it's way too late. He's way too far behind, and he's nowhere near castle age, especially with his food income. But I'll be able to go castle age pretty quickly here, because I can go. Look, the second I take control, the moment that I take control of the map again, I'm moving out for the deer, and yeah, the deer are going to be really high value here. I really need some food, so that's pretty much it, guys. That's my take on dealing with Tower Rush as French. Like I said, there's lots of options. Like, but you can't stay stubborn. Like if if you play HRE and you like to fast castle with a few horsemen every single game, and the Mongol player towers your gold or towers your Aachen, you may need to adapt and go for a second town center play or something like that. Some kind of counter aggression. Or just make enough units to get rid of the tower. Whatever it is you want to do, but you cannot just try to force through the one strategy that you have, right? You can't just try to naked go for another gold that's unprotected, right? Your gold needs to be protected at the bare minimum with the tower. So, like, if you don't want to go for a second town center, and you're playing HRE or someone, and you want to go for a fast castle still, you can try to move out with a tower onto the gold, but towers are easy to take down, so it's important to constantly scout what your opponent's doing, make sure you're making enough units to defend before you go castle, right? So, but I do think the easier response is to get a town center on the gold. And it just depends on what you're doing too. Like with French, this works very well because even if my opponent had chosen to go fast castle, French can kind of contest castle age for a little bit with their feudal age knights. So going to TC would work pretty well for me because I could still mass units and deal with his castle age units if he had rush castle. But he didn't rush castle, he tried to feudal all in, so that was really good for me. And from here, I just kind of counterattack and counter raid and just win the game. So at this point, I'm attacking with the army I have. I'm not making too much more army because I want to go castle. I'm also walling off my side of the map at this point and just playing methodically to make sure that I don't throw the game. But yeah, we're way ahead now on villagers. Um, we're raiding and on the gold as well, or we were trying to, but there's spearmen out there. And um, not only am I going Castle Age right now with 2100 food extra on top of the Castle Age, by the way. So obviously I put too many on food and not enough on gold here. But I'm pushing at the same time and idling his vills and killing vills on the wood line, harassing vills on the gold and on the berries, and hitting Castle Age at the same time. So it's just very, very, very over. And he forfeits in a second, especially after I kill a bunch of vills here. So, yeah. And I killed a con with villagers, which was kind of funny. So that's it. Yeah, that's my perspective on dealing with Tower Rush. I think you can really just ignore it, get the archers. Even if you're HRE, get the archers. Don't be afraid to get the archers. The archers are what you need to make sure he doesn't place more towers. Guys, I can't stress how important the archers are. But yeah, that's it. Get the archers, make sure there's no more towers that go down, and secure yourself a gold. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you if you are struggling with Tower Rush. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.